Imagine you've spent years running a race. You studied hard, worked late nights, took on stress. 10, and finally crossed the finish line. You hit the holy grail of modern personal finance, a six-figure salary.
$100,000 a year. You think to yourself, I've finally made it. The financial stress is over. But then, Friday night rolls around. You sit down to look at your bank account. You pay the rent. You pay the credit card bill. You pay for your car. And when you look at the final number left over, your stomach drops. It's nearly zero. You're making more money than 80% of the population, yet you feel like you are barely keeping your head above water. How is this possible? How can a salary that used to buy early retirement now leave you feeling broke? To understand why this happens, we first have to address the giant elephant in the room, the math. Let's look at our friend Bob. Bob just landed a promotion, and his new contract says he makes exactly $100,000 a year. He is ecstatic. In his mind, he has $8,300 flowing into his bank account every single month. But Bob is about to get a very harsh reality check. Before Bob even sees a single dime, Uncle Sam steps in. Federal income tax, state income tax, and FICA taxes immediately take their cut. Depending on where Bob lives in the United States, his income is instantly slashed by about 25 to 30%. Suddenly, that $8,300 a month shrinks to around $6,000 of actual, real-world take-home pay. Next comes shelter. If Bob lives in or near a major US city where six-figure jobs are common, rent or a mortgage isn't cheap.
Let's say Bob pays a fairly standard $2,000 a month for a decent apartment. We are down to $4,000.
Now, subtract $500 for health insurance and retirement contributions. Subtract another $300 for utilities, internet, and a phone bill. Subtract $400 for groceries. Before Bob has spent a single dollar on fun, entertainment, or clothes, his grand six-figure salary has withered away to less than $2,800 a month.
And this is the starting line. This is before life actually happens. But here is the real kicker. $100,000 simply doesn't buy what it used to.
Today, due to decades of cumulative inflation, earning $100K has the same purchasing power that $45,000 had in 1990.
But taxes and inflation are only half of the equation. The most dangerous part of this trap doesn't happen in the economy. It happens inside your own brain. It is a psychological phenomenon known as lifestyle creep, driven by what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill. To see this in action, let's look at Bob's life a few years ago.
When Bob was 22, his first job out of college paid $40,000 a year. He lived in a cramped apartment with 2 roommates. He slept on a mattress he bought off the internet.
Yes, drove a beat-up sedan with a squeaky belt, and ate cheap pasta 3 nights a week. And you know what? Bob was happy. He had enough money to buy a beer on weekends, and life felt good. But as the years went on, Bob got raises. His salary went to $60,000, then $80,000, and finally $100,000. With every raise, Bob made a series of completely logical, quiet upgrades. He moved out of the shared apartment and got his own place. He traded the noisy sedan for a leased mid-size SUV with a nice screen. He started buying higher quality groceries, ordered nicer drinks at dinner, and upgraded his phone every year instead of waiting for it to break. None of these decisions were wild or irresponsible. Bob wasn't buying yachts or throwing gold-plated parties. He was just buying a standard, comfortable, middle-class life. But here is the trap. Bob's brain adapted to these new upgrades almost instantly.
The solo apartment, the nice car, and the premium coffee stopped feeling like luxuries. They became his new baseline, his new minimum standard of survival. When you adapt to a higher level of comfort, it is incredibly difficult to take a step backward. Going back to roommates or a noisy car feels like a painful sacrifice, even though it was perfectly fine for you just a few years ago. I can't believe I used to live like that. And because Bob's expenses rose at the exact same speed as his income, his financial situation never actually changed. At $40,000 a year, he had no savings. At $100,000 a year, he still has no savings. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why is it so hard to just keep our expenses low when our income goes up? Because we live in a society built on visual feedback. As humans, we are evolutionarily programmed to look at our peers to see where we stand in the social hierarchy. Hundreds of years ago, survival depended on your status within the tribe. Today, we measure status through material possessions. When Bob got his $100,000 job, he didn't just get a new salary, he got a new social circle. He started working with managers and directors. He noticed that his colleague parked a clean, modern, electric vehicle in the office garage. He noticed his neighbor hired a premium landscaping service to keep their yard flawless. He saw his friend post pictures of an annual trip to a resort in Mexico. Subconsciously, Bob's brain registered this as the standard. If Bob continues to drive his old sedan and live in a basic apartment, he feels a quiet, constant sense of shame. He worries that his colleagues will think he isn't successful, or that he is struggling. Look at him, he's clearly failing. Yeah, it's pretty obvious. This is the trap of status signaling. We spend money we don't have, to buy things we don't need, to project an image of wealth, to impress people we don't even like. Social media has accelerated this to a dangerous degree. In the past, you only compared yourself to your actual neighbors on your street. Today, you open your phone and compare your everyday life. There is another hidden cost of earning a high salary that almost nobody talks about. It's called time poverty. To earn $100,000 a year, Bob doesn't work a simple 9-to-5 job. He is a senior analyst. He has deadlines. He has back-to-back meetings. He answers emails on weekends. And worries about project metrics in his sleep. He is working 50, sometimes 6 hours a week. When Bob finally closes his laptop at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday, he is mentally and physically exhausted. His willpower is entirely drained. He stands in his kitchen. He could cook a healthy meal from scratch. But Bob is too tired. Instead, he opens a food delivery app. He orders a standard meal, pays a delivery fee, a service fee, and a tip. A simple $15 dinner suddenly costs $35. On the weekend, Bob is too tired to clean his apartment, so he pays $80 for a cleaning service. He doesn't have time to grocery shop, so he pays a premium for a delivery service. He takes ride shares instead of the subway because he is running late and needs the mental quiet. This is what economists call the convenience tax. You are trading your limited time to earn money, and then immediately trading that money to buy back a tiny fraction of your time. It is an incredibly inefficient cycle. So, how do you escape this trap? The obvious answer seems to be, I just need to make more money. If I can get to $200,000, I'll be fine.
But history shows us that if you don't fix the underlying psychology, your expenses will simply rise to meet your new income. You'll just be driving a nicer car while still living paycheck to paycheck. To break the cycle, you have to change the rules of the game. First, implement the gap strategy. Bob physically pushes 2 walls apart. The next time you get a raise or a bonus, don't let it touch your main checking account. If you get a $500 a month raise, set up an automatic transfer to send $250 directly into an investment account. That's before you ever see it. You still get to enjoy half of your raise, but you build a permanent gap between what you earn and what you spend. Second, run a convenience audit. Look at your bank statements from the last 3 months. Highlight every convenience fee, delivery app order, and unused subscription. Ask yourself honestly, did this purchase actually bring me long-term happiness? Or was I just paying a tax because I was tired? Third, redefine what wealth means to you. Society tells us that wealth is determined by what you spend, the car you drive, the clothes you wear, the brand of your watch. But true wealth is actually the opposite. Wealth is what you don't spend. Wealth is the money in your investment portfolio that gives you security. It is the peace of mind knowing that if you lost your job tomorrow, you could survive for a year without stress. Wealth is having control over your time. If your expenses rise at the exact same pace as your income, you aren't actually getting richer. You are just becoming a higher paid prisoner.
The treadmill only stops when you decide to step off. We want to hear from you. Let us know in the comments below.